Hello, one and all. This is the Daily Roleplay. This is a web series that I'm starting that is based around giving tips, tricks, and advice to roleplayers, both new, experienced, and somewhere in between. I figured that people might need a bit of help with roleplaying, even if they've just hit a writer's block or they're just starting out. There's a lot of things that go into it, and I thought, well, hey, I've been roleplaying for 10, 11 years now. Ever since I was 10, I'm 21 now, and I think I can help out a bit. So, what I'm going to be doing this first episode is character creation. It's kind of the basis for role-playing in a way. Once you learn the basics of role-play, your first thing to do is create a character for whatever kind of style you're doing. Role-playing on web forms, Dungeons and Dragons, in World of Warcraft, or if you're like me, I play a lot of Furcadia. So, what I'll be doing for this is I'll be going through 3 different styles of making a character. Making a general profile for a character, which is kind of an organized list of different traits of a character, both physical, magical, and otherwise. Kind of keeps you organized and focused on one thing at a time. Then there's general thought, where it is kind of just thinking about a character, getting inspiration, and kind of planning it all out in your head and then writing it down in one big go. That is kind of how some people do it, so I thought I'd include it too. And then there's the essential questions, as I put it. Kind of the big essential questions in writing: who, what, where, when, why, and how. Those are very good questions for kind of just inspiring you, making you think about characters in a more general sense than, say, the profile would, but still kind of in an organized way. What I'll be doing first is the profile. In the background right now is a character design from Catokun on Furcadia. I'll be posting a link to her website, well, her web page on Furcadia on the description of this video. Things might be a bit plain or technical at first in these first few episodes because I'm still getting the hang of video editing and things like that. But I hope to entertain you either way. So I'll move right into it and show you how to make a profile. I'll be making a new character even for myself through each of these different methods. Alright, so you guys ready to make a profile? I'll start one from the ground up so you guys can kind of follow along and do as I do, or you can kind of just wait till the end, watch it all, and make one for yourself. This is not an end-all be-all profile. It's kind of just a general ground framework that you can build off of and do what you want with it. So here we'll start with kind of just what goes into a profile. Well, first obviously the name, and then really it's kind of just the basic things like age, what race they are, eye color, skin color. Now here, if you got a character that isn't just skin, say they have fur or scales, you can put scale color, fur color, whatever you want, depending on what the character is. You also want basic things like weight, height, stuff like what's their personality, brief history of the character, family. Well, question mark, man. Just kind of, do they have family? Yeah, I stumble sometimes. You have to get used to me. I apologize. Alright, anyway. So that's just some basic stuff. Now, some things that you could think about, well, like, what's their orientation? Sexual orientation kind of helps with determining, well, what's their interactions with other genders, because, well, you kind of got to know that to kind of roleplay the character. And I suppose you kind of got to know gender too. I kind of forgot that. So just go back here and put in gender. If you forget something in making a profile, that's just fine. Like I just did there, just go back, edit it in, and there you go. Alright, so we'll kind of just start out from here. You don't have to go exactly straight down a profile. You can start wherever you want. It kind of helps to go straight down depending on what you're making, just because it can kind of keep your thoughts straight. I don't have any particular idea of what this character is going to be or any setting I'm going to put him in, so I want a general one. So you know what? I think I'll pick one of my favorite race, a dragon. So, dragon. But what kind of a dragon? You see there's like the general 2 wings, 4 legs, breathes fire kind of dragon. And then there's like the eastern dragon, really long, like a serpent, flies through the air kind of by floating and slithering around. A lot of different kinds here. I think I actually want what's called an anthropomorphic one. Walks on 2 legs, has 2 arms, kind of hulks around and big, strong guy. I think more of a little beefy kind of, maybe a mercenary. That'd be kind of cool. What do you think of that? This is the kind of thing that you'll get into once you start picking a race or get an idea. You'll kind of just start rambling on in your own head about, oh, hey, this is cool, that's cool, and just let it flow. Have fun with it. That's all what about making a character is. Having fun, making something you're going to enjoy playing. Whether it's good, evil, whatever. Hey, that's something else we can put in there. Alignment, I suppose. Some might remember that as. Feel free to kind of be lazy a little bit of times and use the word editor. What kind of alignment do they have? If you're D&D, you know what this is. If you're not, well, alignment is, are they a good person, an evil person, or are they kind of just like on the fence? They kind of will steal if it benefits them, but they won't hurt anybody, or they try not to. Stuff like that. I think this is going to be a general good person, so I'll just put good person. Gender male, I've said. Eye color, it's a dragon. So I think maybe something like gold, nice, kind of rich, cool skin color. See, this is a place where I chose a race that doesn't necessarily have skin to see right off the bat, unless you kind of peel away their scale, so that'd probably hurt them. So I'll go over here and type in scale color instead. A lot of times scale color can determine what kind of dragon it is. You know, kind of like elements kind of tied to their scale color. So let's see. Big, strong, mercenary type. Maybe an earth dragon. That'd be pretty cool. So actually, you know what? I can go up here and change this to earth dragon specifically. And I can go down here and put brown for their scale color. Wait, now, I don't know how much they're going to weigh. They're big and strong, but how tall are they? Are they like towering over everyone else around them? Or are they kind of just sitting around their average size, even for a human? Maybe they're a bit shorter compared to other dragons. Nah, I want something a bit bigger, kind of imposing. He's not necessarily intimidating, as in like a forceful person. See, this is kind of where you kind of get your personality going already. You can kind of jump around. Like, I think this person's not a forceful person, but just because of their size, they're rather intimidating. So I'm actually just going to put generous right now, and emotionally. Why am I putting this? Because I just had a thought that if they're not a very intimidating, forceful personality, then perhaps that they have a bit of a softer side. That means, well, why is he a mercenary then if he's not intimidating and stuff? Well, that's something to think about as I go through and make the character. Just, again, edit as you need. So I think this is going to be a bigger character, though. Kind of, perhaps a first looks at them are a bit, second, perhaps a first look at them makes someone kind of shrivel in terror a bit, but at the same time, maybe they don't. Because his personality comes across more than his size right after someone kind of gets surprised. Well, hey, here's a 10-foot dragon. There we go, 10 foot tall. Even. So this is a bit burlier of a dragon. Someone that's 10 foot is going to weigh a lot. This is just nice thick muscles, stuff like that. So, well, hey, there's like an 8-foot tall bodybuilder for a human is pretty heavy, like 350 pounds. The dragon's going to weigh more than that. At the wings and extra appendages with the tail and everything. So I would say probably about 600 pounds. That they're about twice the height of one person. They're naturally kind of just bigger in general in every way, so they're going to be a bit heavier, even proportionally speaking. So that's kind of the basic characters looks right there. You know, they're muscled, they're nice and big and beefy, a bit more intimidating just because of how they look. The big brown scales. Well, what kind of scales? Teardrop shape. That's all kind of stuff that can be added to a profile. See, this is kind of where you get invested in the character. You kind of get all these cool ideas running through your head, so you can kind of start adding to the profile. Like, Detailed description. Here I could put big, thick plate scales, hulking body. They're kind of, think of the Hulk, how he's just big, broad-shouldered, thick throat. Oh, hey, I can be a bit more detailed then if I do that. Broad shoulder, thick neck. Okay, that's pretty cool. I kind of got an idea for my head of what this character is. History. Well, I already know he's a mercenary. Well, why is he a mercenary? See, this is something that's called backstory. This is a topic that I'm going to have to cover in another episode because it is something that has a huge amount of thought that goes into it. But right now, I'm going to do a basic backstory so I don't kind of overload you guys with each individual piece of all the different 3 topics that I'm going to be going over. The topics being thought, essential questions, and the profile, of course. History. Why is he a mercenary, though? Well, if I just want to do something basic, well, his family died as adventurers were raiding his family's cave. His egg was kind of hidden by his parents as they fought off the adventurers, and they died. But he survived and ended up hatching later on to kind of no one being around. Well, that could give him a bit of a sour outlook. Surviving on his own, not knowing what happened to his family. But at the same time, I've already decided he's mostly generous, so how does that work? Well, people grow up differently depending on what's going on. Maybe instead of being completely abandoned, someone else found him as he kind of crawled out of the cave and looked for himself, the world around him, looked for other people, that kind of thing. So let's see. His family died when adventurers came to steal the dragon's gold. I apologize for being quiet now and then, but it's kind of hard to talk and type at the same time. Steal his parents' gold. Parents' hoard, actually, would probably be better. This is kind of where you'll nitpick over words, possibly. It kind of, you get a little bit protective of your character, even as you're just starting to make him. His family died when adventurers came to steal his parents' hoard. He was hidden and later hatched. His egg was hidden and later hatched him alone and not knowing anything of the world. So, how do you survive? Well, I thought maybe someone came and found him. As he came out of the cave, he may have found someone else there. Perhaps another mortal race. He doesn't know who or what kind of adventurers kind of killed his parents or anything, or who his parents even were or anything. He was just alone in a cave. He perhaps found a couple gold pieces here and there. Had a natural bit of greediness. Yeah, there we go. Material greedy. Yeah, it doesn't quite make a word itself, but when you're making a profile on a character, don't worry about having words be kind of actual words, I suppose, sometimes, because you just want to make your character. If a word you made up sounds good and it gets the idea across, go with it. Just have fun with making a character. He doesn't know anything of the world. I think maybe an elves got him. He's an earth dragon. They kind of felt tied to him because of, well, elves are usually tied to nature, and earth dragons are really tied to nature. So I'll put a group of traveling elves found him and helped raise him and nurse him into being a full-sized and properly fed, matured adult dragon. They taught him their ways of fighting and how to tend to the forest. So he likes elves. He perhaps is a bit patient because of how he was raised. Elves tend to be a bit more patient. They tend to be thoughtful. That actually kind of works well with earth dragons. People kind of associate them with rock. Very patient, slow, strong, and stubborn. That kind of works pretty well with elves, but at the same time, it can probably make him a bit hard-headed with his teachers during his age. So I'll go here. Material greediness, stubborn, patient, thoughtful. Alright, that's a decent personality coming up right there. So elves raised him, they taught him their ways of fighting and how to tend to the forest. When he got older, perhaps they're just as long-lived as elves, if not immortal, both of them. So perhaps after a good bit of time, he thought that he wanted to see the rest of the world, not just the forest glen. Dragons kind of have a wanderlust to them a lot of the time, even after they settle down. It's kind of just a natural thing born into them, kind of want their own territory and stuff. But for him, perhaps he considered the elven village, or, well, the forest, I suppose, since these are traveling elves, that's his territory, his home, and there's already people to guard it, so he's fine with kind of moving on, and he wants to explore the world. So, later on in life, he decided to leave the elves and explore the world for himself. Having the greediness of some dragons, he decided to put his large physique and fighting skills learned from the elves to mercenary work. Got him the gold and lets him travel all over the place. That's a basic description of his history right there. I am not going to go too much more into detail because I don't want this to be a huge video that kind of eats up everyone's time. I got 2 other topics to go through, and I'm not necessarily sure how long I want these videos to be, so keep that in mind. I'm not sure how long these are going to be, and this first video might be shorter than all the rest, or it might be obscenely longer than all the rest because it's my first time doing a video. So, going like that, oh hey, I have missed age. Well, I didn't really miss it because I skipped over it purposely. I didn't know what age I wanted this dragon to be because I wasn't sure who he was yet. I mean, age kind of says how much experience you've had in life, how much you've learned or gained wisdom over the ages. Well, for a dragon, he's long-lived, but I think I'm going to leave that history where it is and say, well, hey, he's learned a lot from elves, he's older, he's a fully adult dragon, but at the same time, I can't have him be too old because I don't want him being so old that it looks like, hey, why is he kind of new to the world if he's this old? So he's just starting out in his mercenary age. A lot of elves consider their own kind of immature physically and mentally around 200. That's what an adult is, for the most part. So I think perhaps I'll put 300 for his age. He's fully adult, even by elven standards, and he kind of just is going on his way and learning about the world as he becomes a mercenary. Family, well, his parents are dead, but he considers the elves that raised him, and elves in general to be his adopted family. So in that way, anytime he meets an elf or something, he's gonna be a lot more friendly with that person, a lot more open with them. Elves are the ones that raised him. Now, a lot of people might think this is kind of a quirky story or something, but let me say this. Fantasy, sci-fi, historical, when you're role-playing, what you're doing is usually fictional. So, as long as people are having fun with what they're role-playing, that's what matters. So it doesn't necessarily mean to make the most perfect sense for it to be good roleplay. Now, orientation. Elves are considered by some to be a bit promiscuous. Bleh, try using words. So, for orientation, I am going to put bisexual. That covers all bases. So, I actually have pretty much most of the profile filled out. Yeah. I'll stumble a couple times. But, name now. See, this is tricky. Name is usually something you save to last or near last, because you gotta think of, well, who is this guy, or gal, or whatever, to be a hermaphrodite, or any other gender, whatever you want. But, a lot of things go into a name, and the name could have changed over time. As they got older, took like a rite of passage, just like became an adult and stuff like that, and they may have taken a different name or had something else applied to them. So, I think for this one, I'm going to have a mix of an elven name and more of a draconic, heavy name. I think the elves may have given him kind of one of their names. Perhaps something a bit nature-based, given that, hey, he's a earth dragon, but at the same time, he's kind of grown up in elven culture. So, let's say perhaps a type of wood. Ironwood. That's a nice, strong name for, well, anything. Ironwood, very strong tree, and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm a bit loose in the name. Sometimes it's a bit hard even for me to come up with a name, but you kind of just go with what feels right to you. Ironwood, that kind of covers the elven name, but what about the draconic? Well, he actually hasn't had any experience with other dragons. He's just kind of learned from the elves. So, aside from what comes naturally to a dragon, he might actually not even know what a draconic name is, or would be. He'd probably know draconic. I like to think that draconic, the language of dragons, is kind of just hereditary. You automatically know it. It's in your genetics, your code as a dragon. So I actually think he's going to hold out on actually even giving himself a last name, just for the fact that he's waiting to learn more about dragons and wants to learn more about himself and who he is before he actually identifies himself fully. So actually, right here, this is a pretty well filled out profile. Now here's some things that you could add. Magical abilities. Fill out the detailed description all the way. I'll do that, and I'll show you kind of how to write out the description, but at the same time, I don't want to go too far into like the magical abilities and stuff yet, because that's something that you can kind of figure out on your own pretty easily. This is kind of the general idea of how a profile works. For magic and stuff, I'll just think, okay, so for Ironwood here, he's earth-based, so he's got power over rocks, he's got power over, let's say, trees and vines. He can make vines grow kind of like a druid can and stuff like that. He can talk to the animals. There you go. That's kind of his magical powers. So, for his detailed description, I got the general idea of what I want him to be there. So you kind of just expand upon it. So, the 10-foot tall humanoid dragon big, thick plate scales, sharp brown color, covering his entire body, with broad shoulders, a thick neck, and bulging muscles all over his entire body. He has quite the looming stature to him. At the same time, there is a bit of a softness to his chisel maw. A light smile can almost always be seen gracing it and inviting others to get to know him. Though he wears no clothes, there is a heavy warhammer strapped to his back between his strong tan wings and heavy 6-foot long tail. There. That's a basic detailed description you can give someone. It kind of tells you, oh hey, this is a dragon that's big, strong, kind of, he's an earth dragon. He's kind of got that broad-shouldered look that you'd expect from an earth dragon. He's a fighter, obviously, because he's got that big hammer on his back, and he's a bit more soft, even though he looms over people, because of that smile on his face. Adding things like that smile or looming, word choices can make up for a lot of words. You don't have to have a huge block of description to get a character across. Think about who they are. Pick and choose your words carefully. Don't be completely obsessed with the word choice for the character. Just think about what feels right for the character and kind of put the basics down and then expand upon them more if you need to. And then you can go through and fix all the spelling mistakes if you need to. Here, I put having greediness some dragons. I think I can go through and change this to having the greed of many dragons. Using being a mercenary and gaining both coin for himself and satisfying the wonder many young adult dragons have. There you go. That is Ironwood for you. I've made a character here and I pretty like who he is. I can put just material greed. I know what it means, so that's good enough for me. I know who this character is personally. I know what I want to do with this character. He's a big burly mercenary that's going throughout the world and kind of learning who he is and about dragons and other things. So at the same time, he's going to be fit into any kind of fantasy setting and stuff like that. So this is a character that I've made with the profile system. You can add or take away things if you want to. You don't have to follow this exactly. This is just kind of a general idea of how to make a character with a profile. So what I'm going to be moving on to next is the thinking portion of this episode. So I hope I haven't been too boring for y'all up until this point. Well, I guess some of you could have just skipped here from the timestamps that I'm trying to put down the options. The hell am I talking about? Description. That little box underneath the video. Well, I don't know if they quite work yet, so I hope they do. Let me know in the comments if they do. This section is the thinking section, where I'm just going to help you give some, or get some ideas. I'm the one giving the idea. What the hell am I talking about? Anyway, let me try to get back on track here. I'm going to try to give you some ideas on how to get inspired for your character. To kind of get it all in your head, kind of just let your imagination run wild, and when you got it all kind of done, fleshed out in your head, just write it all down however you feel most comfortable. Whether just doing a profile like I did, or kind of just write it out in one big blurb, or whatever you feel best with that kind of sums up your character. Okay, so in the background again is art from Catokun from Furcadia. I know I'm sounding like I'm advertising her, but it is her art, so I thought I'd give credit where credit's due. So, with getting inspiration for your character, it can be quite hard. You can just think of the setting of your character for the start, where you just think, well, hey, if it's a forest, then there might be elves. If there is a river or it's an oceanside town, port, there might be a lot of bird-like creatures, or bird-like creatures, birds kind of going around. There might be, you might can play like a dolphin or a whale, kind of either a humanoid species or, you know, kind of an animal in the ocean, kind of searching around, talking to the sailors on the ships if it's a sentient whale. That sounds like quite a fun adventure. The whole idea is just to have fun. That's the whole idea behind RPing. Having fun role-playing something that's not you. It can be completely off the walls crazy. It can be the most normal thing in the world. It can just be another human, kind of just have an apartment with headphones and kind of live their life. So, the setting of a story is kind of what you want to start off with. But when you got the idea of a character, like the race, who they might be in a very basic sense, like, oh, hey, they're a mercenary or they're a sailor or something. Here's a couple things that'll help you kind of get inspired for the character. And you can do this with anything. You can do it while you're doing the profile or whatever. Try to find a place that kind of matches the idea of the character. Like, if they're a very nature-y type, maybe go to your public park or something. Or if they're a sailor, go to a lake nearby you. Or a stream that you found, and kind of just listen to the water and see if anything comes to mind from it. Stuff like that. Now, something else you can do. You can find a song. Either a theme song or a song that kind of just clicks with your head. You kind of just get pumped up for the character. The juices just start flowing. You never really stop thinking about the character. That's a song you can just keep playing and playing and playing and playing, just to keep you motivated for the character. Keep your mind going and going and going, and not have to worry so much about the pausing or the writer's block and stuff like that. Those are a couple things you can do just to keep the inspiration for your character going, or just get new ideas for it. You really just want to have fun again. I'm sorry I keep hammering that home, but a lot of people don't necessarily have fun with their characters after they make them, because it's kind of like, well, I guess this works, or they kind of just make a character to fit a need, and really they don't have the motivation behind the character to really enjoy it. Make something you really want. So, how do you kind of get everything in your head as you're being inspired? Well, you can take it by sections, like think, oh, hey, well, what's the race and what's this character's background? Well, taking a page from the last character we did, Ironwood, elves. Oh, the elves, for that nomadic tribe of elves that we kind of decided found the hatchling and all, I say they kind of had a home in this big forest, that they were nomads through this giant forest on whatever continent they're from. And they move around and talk to other elves and stuff, and their traditions are kind of like druidic, shamanistic, stuff like that. They're very in tune with nature. They're kind of the wardens of the forest. That particular group is really set in that mindset. They take care of it and really watch out for it. And you kind of log cutting or any kind of fires and stuff they try to help put out or stop any incursions in the forest that aren't welcome there. That's kind of the idea of what you want to do with the whole character as you're kind of building it up in your head. You want to just go with whatever thought you have originally. Take it as far as you can. Fill that out completely. You'll kind of remember it in your head. If you want, take notes as you're kind of finishing a thought. Taking notes while you're thinking can be a little hard, but if you can do shorthand, that'll work. When you're fully done with the thought, like a character's race and what that particular race's traditions are in your setting, in your story, Write down a few notes so it can be a reminder when you're coming back and actually writing everything out. Like, oh, hey, this is what it was. Now, for the rest of the character, once you kind of go over like the basic stuff, like their backstory, their race, their age, what their profession is, stuff like that, you want to try to find something that kind of ties it all together. The name can do that. Filling out a huge backstory, writing novels about the character. That's how some people do it, and that's kind of pretty fun. Like, you write a whole bunch of stuff about the character, 5, 6, 7 pages of it in a notebook before you even start role-playing the character because you just get so inspired about it. Or something that I like to do, so especially if I'm out at my local park where I can get a lot of my ideas for my characters, because I make naturey stuff a lot. I make water types, stuff like that. I like to sit down and kind of just watch the animals. If I'm making a character based off an animal or someone that's really tied into, say, like the sea or the forest or something like that, because that's kind of stuff that your character would see every day. Going to a place, a physical place, isn't just about getting inspiration for your character. It's about trying to live your character while you're making them. If they're a sailor character, go to the boats, kind of see what the sailors there are doing with their own boats and stuff like that, if there's a dock near you. If there's not, and you're making like a sailor character, this is going to get really old, this example, huh? Well, I hope it's not too boring. Again, I'm trying to be entertaining. If you don't have something like that, look on YouTube or something else where you find a video of like a sailor's kind of venturing around the world, or like home videos of like seeing a whale or something. It'll kind of give you an idea of what it's kind of like out on the ocean, or do that kind of stuff for any of your characters. Try to live their life in a way. Don't do anything dangerous. Don't do anything stupid. You don't want to try flying if your character can fly. Might not work out too well for you. Humans have a way of falling to gravity when we leap up in the air. They kind of come down pretty hard. Yeah, I hope my jokes aren't too bad. I kind of knock them dead. Yeah, puns probably not going to work out, but I'm keeping it. This is the kind of stuff that you want to do to keep inspired about your character and keep motivated. Keep the juices flowing in your brain. Whether you're just thinking about your character, making a profile, already have the character done. Like, you've already RP'd it for a while, but it's kind of just got stuck again. All the advice that I give, I try to make it so that even if someone's already made a character, they're just stuck on it, or it's getting stale, try to do some of these things and you might just find your character coming back to life, getting inspired again. That's what I hope to do with this stuff. Inspire people, not just new, but old in RPing too. So, those are just some things that I thought you guys might like to hear about being inspired about your character and keep going with it. Next, I'm going to move on to the essential questions. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. Might sound pretty basic. You might be like, oh, I did this in school. But they're really good and essential questions for any kind of writing, role-playing, or story of any sort. You really just want to enjoy your character. Kind of think of these questions, and they might help you really just focus on the individual parts of your character in different ways than like the profile or just thinking out loud with this. Well, I hope you guys are having at least a little bit of fun with this video. I'm trying my best to be humorous. I'm pretty bad sometimes, so I hope I'm not too terrible. But like I've been saying, the whole point of role-playing and making the characters is just to have as much fun as you can with the character. You have to be passionate about the character you're playing to really get the most out of them. So what do I have here? I have the 6 essential questions. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. Now, you may have learned about this in school, you may not have. There are basically 6 questions that can help you define a character, a story, a plot, kind of learn about even history in a book. They're just some questions that kind of organize your thoughts and get you thinking really nice and stably about some specific things. Alright, for example, who? Well, who's the character I'm making? Well, I don't really know yet. Why should I answer who first when I want to know the what first? Like, what are they? Are they some kind of, like, Wild West gunslinger that roams around trying to be the best that he can be or something like that? What race is he? I don't know, yeah. Like, but where is he from? You get the idea here? Each of these questions kind of tie into the other. They kind of overlap, but that's kind of the point. It gets you thinking about everything. It's just something to really make you think out loud and in your head at the same time. You kind of just let your thoughts go everywhere, and they'll all tie in. It helps you see how they all tie in. Yeah, I'm stumbling over my own words here. Great, Scarith. Well, let's see if I can make sense of this. Well, making sense English language and anyway, ranting. So I want to make a character that I've had in my head for a while, and this is the kind of character that you want to make. You should always try to have a character that you want to make be the one you make. Sometimes you need to make one for a certain need. That's okay. The most important thing with these kind of questions is really just what inspires you the most. What is that one idea that's been stuck in the back of your head for so long it's nagging you, but you just haven't figured out how to do it? That's the kind of character that I'm want to make for these questions. I'll make it, we'll go through it kind of like the other one, and I'm actually going to explain these more in depth after I've made the character. You'll see why when I'm done with the character. So who? Well, I wanted to make a Wild West kind of like gunslinger attitude kind of character for a while. So you know what? I'll just put down a note. Wild West attitude gunslinger. Well, what is he? Oh, it's a gunslinger, but that's not really what I mean by what for myself. Like, what is his motivation? What is his race and family and all that kind of stuff? Like, I want something interesting. Maybe he's a bird. Like I got this idea that I want it to be like a Wild West kind of setting and stuff, but I want it to be in the air, like airships, and he's got his own airship, kind of like some people see in a little bit of sci-fi where there's a sky pirate. They go out on their own and have airships instead of regular sailing ships. But here it's a civilization that kind of wrecked its own land, took all the resources out of it, and made it kind of like a toxic place where they can't really live, a wasteland. So they had to build floating cities and get up into the air. And now everyone's dream is to own their own skyship. But each of the cities that were once a part of this nation are actually now independent city-states. They kind of lost the identity of a country. It's kind of lost in a bit of legend. They've been up there for a while. You can kind of get the idea how each of these kind of can slip into the other. They all kind of converge with one another, and as you answer one, you get the answers to other, and back and forth, back and forth. You can see how it kind of builds up really quick for you. So what? He's a man that owns his own skyship. How big is skyship? A big one, like a big carrier, or is it just like this one man little fighter jet or something like that? Then again, how advanced are these? Are they like kind of like steampunky, or are they kind of more just like a big fantasy, wind powered magical stones kind of thing? Yeah, wind powered magical stones. Yeah, that's kind of a stretch there, but anyway. Where is it? Well, the sky. Skyships, of course, in the sky. However, I want this to be, what city-state is he from? Or where in the world are now? Or what city-states is he interacting with? I think he's interacting with all of them. He's independent. Where? The sky. Independent on his own with no set base but his own ship. When is this? Well, that's kind of like the idea of where. Well, these are independent city-states, but how advanced were they when they got up there? How advanced are they now? You can kind of see how this ties in even more. When I would like something that is a bit past muskets and all that, but not really modern or anything. I want this to be a more feeling like the Wild Wild West blended with a bit of fantasy / science fiction in the form of the airships. So I'll say mid 1900s is the mid 1900s technology for the most part. Well, they're airships, obviously, so for the most part. That's about 1850 AD. That's when revolvers are around. They got shotguns and stuff like that. But maybe they got their own things. Maybe it actually is a bit more advanced like that, and they kind of got like energy rifles and energy pistols and stuff like that. Now that'd be cool. You know, so maybe I actually want to go forward a bit. A bit futuristic with energy. Wow. Couldn't spell energy for there. Yeah. Gotta work on my English sometimes. Though it is a little bit late I'm doing this video. Anyway, ranting again, I'm sorry. Now try to keep more on track. I'm just kind of really excited about this character. This is why I love doing character creation, just roleplay in general, and that's what I want to get across in these videos. I want to hype people up for it again. Especially those that have been RPing a while and just kind of lost the magic of it. I want to inspire them again. Alright, so with energy technology. Why? Why is he off on his own and different things? I could say that the city-state that he's from is really strict on its civilians. Like, all the civilians have to take a general education, and when they get a speciality or they show they're really good in science or wind magic or whatever it is, they're supposed to be sticking to that one thing, and the government really doesn't want them venturing out from that. It's kind of a social stigma that you stick to what you're good at and you let someone else fill the roles that they're good at. You don't do things you're not good at. You do things that you have a set role and you're not allowed to deviate from that. So people who are kind of oppressed, that can't really have fun, do what they want most. City state that he's from has very strict social roles, and he wanted a lot more freedom. That came from having his own ship. I'm kind of just writing down notes as I go, as it kind of pops in my head. How did he get his ship, though? That's a really big question. Did he work and save up for everything he wanted? Did someone give it to him, like a mysterious stranger? Or did he kind of steal and cheat his way into it? Well, then again, that kind of goes back up to who? What kind of person is he? Is he honest and hardworking, or is he that kind of outlaw who steals from himself and gives nothing else to anybody? Now, I kind of like the idea of a bit of a hero. Wanders around, he's that mysterious stranger that kind of rides into town and blasts apart the gang running the town, and may stay there for a little while, help out, but eventually moves on, or he's welcome in a lot of different places, but he's always trying to find the next person to help and stuff. Maybe he's getting his own gang together, his own cadre, companions. Now that's cool. A wandering gunslinger that has his own skyship. It's a bigger one, and he's trying to get together a group of companions and stuff, and he really wants to get everyone together and make a family for himself. Kind of like he wants a crew that he wants to be a family. Maybe kind of like Cowboy Bebop, but a little bit more positive. Alright, so Wild Wild West attitude gunslinger who wants to make a name for himself along with getting a crew together, so he feels like he has a family. He's a man that owns his own skyship. What is he though, race-wise? Well, do I want this to be fantasy or sci-fi or a blend of them? Like, just things run off of magic powered air stones, and air magic's a big important thing with people able to wield it. Kind of the nobles and stuff. They're kind of the ones that get a lot of money and stuff. Or is this actual scientific advancement? Maybe they found this cool energy particle, like maybe they found antimatter or something like that. You know, I kind of like the idea of a blending of that. So let's see. Man that owns his own skyship that runs off of wooden magic stone, but has science included to the point that the ships have energy, weapons, and the like. Magitech. Feel free to capitalize or do whatever what you want on your sheets. Whatever's fun and kind of is your own way of note taking. I really like the idea of science fiction and fantasy put together. Magitech. So that's what I'll go with for this. A big Magitech world. Or at least, if this is going to be a more general character, the setting that he's from is Magitech based. Things like that. Now how? How did he get his own ship? Well, I'd say that I don't like the idea of someone giving it to him. But I don't quite like the idea of him earning it all just hardworking and stuff by himself. Maybe he had a partner that died in trying to get it or something. No, you know what? I think I like... Since he's the hero type, saves people and busts up gangs, welcome in a lot of different places. Since he's that type, I think that how he had a ship is that he stumbled upon a big gang in his youth. Young adult, just getting out of teens. And as he stumbled upon them, he found that not the police, but there was another gang kind of coming in and fighting them. He found everything in the middle of a gang war in his home city. Every city has corruption and stuff, even very strict social roles kind of society. I'd say he took advantage of this situation, and he snuck aboard the ship, took it over when they weren't looking, and flew out with it, and he kind of killed a bunch of the gang members on his way, and that's when he decided he got his ship from a bunch of gangs, and he didn't like what he saw, the violence and stuff, or at least the senseless killing and knowing about growing up from that kind of part of the neighborhood, a very violent gang part. So he's kind of got that in his blood, or at least he's been around it all his life. So that's probably why he dedicated himself in getting the ship and using it to right wrongs and kind of get a family together, because that's not something he had. Maybe he lost his parents and stuff during the gang wars and stuff like that. Now, I want to say that this kind of character is one that I've already partially made in the version of another character. He's this big bodybuilder dragon that has his own ship that is both a naval ship and air and all that kind of stuff. He was my attempt at making this character, but not really devoting fully to it. I say he was more like a Grim Reaper. Was also a blacksmith. He could make about anything, and he kind of went around collecting souls, but he wasn't really that good as or in depth as a death character or anything like that. Anyway, he was my attempt at making a character, and I really kind of got bored with him. But at the same time, I really like the idea, and I want to make him do again. And this is kind of that reimagining. Bleh. Why do I stumble so many times? Anyway, doing it again. Hopefully I'm at least somewhat bearable. This is me as a more advanced, older role player wanting to have fun with a character again. I know what he is. Big, bulky dragon. I know who he is and all that already. I already have a basis for him. But honestly, his personality was different in this. He was a bit more hardline. He participated in slavery and stuff like that, which he might still. He might be a hero to a lot of people, but in secret he does practice a bit of slavery or some other kind of dirty thing. Maybe he is a bit of a criminal in the same way that he is a hero, like that vagabond anti-hero that is in a lot of Wild West stories. This is where I've had fun making a character. So, if you haven't got the idea yet, I'll go through each of these for you. Who? Who is the character? Their name? Who's important to them? Their family? Things like that. What are the characters that are both important to yours, and who's the character themselves? Attitude, personality, things like that. What? What are they race-wise? What are the material possessions kind of most important to them? Family heirlooms, what are their traditions, things like that. The material and the big rules that kind of make them who they are. And just physical stuff too, about them, race, colors, what scale color is this dragon, and stuff like that. Where does he come from? Where does she come from? Where is their main hangout? All that kind of stuff. Where is very typically the thing that people think, oh, hey, setting, it goes here, under where. Yeah, it kind of does like that, but it's also what locations were important in this person's life. Is there a place that he always goes back to because his friend died there, and he makes a pilgrimage to it every year, or a person's grave, things like that. When? What time zone is he from? When did important things happen in their life? Like, when did that friend die that he goes back to their grave every year? When is that anniversary for him? When is their birthday, even? Why? Why does he do, or she do, or it do, or she do, whatever they do? Or why are they on this role in their life? Or why did their family betray them? Why did his friend get killed? What are the things that set them on this path? What are your character's motivations? How? How do they go about doing what they do? Oh, they can go back and say, what's their profession? This guy is a sky captain. He has his own ship and he's a hero and he goes about helping people. How does he do it? He got his ship in the middle of a gang war. He went in and stole it while he was trying to help clear out the gangs, and he saw an opportunity and he took it. How is he going about getting a crew? Going about helping people, saving people, and trying to inspire them to follow him. How is he maintaining them together? Well, maybe he has a cool nickname for his crew or the ship, maybe like the Reapers or stuff like that. You can kind of get the idea of how each of these questions tie into each other, and as you think of one, it'll tie into the other questions, and you can put a note down there. And unlike the profile, this kind of thing is a lot easier in some ways to really get past a writer's block. Because in this way, as you think about one thing, and you can focus on that one thing, you get the ideas for the other, because they all pretty much tie into each other. So you can write down notes on one thing, and if you give up on who, you already probably have an idea of what, like race or something, and you can start filling out what, and that might give you an idea of like where do they come from, and filling out where might give you a bit of personality traits for who they are, and stuff like that. It's a really good way to get over your blocks and just reimagine a character or make an entirely new one. For all of you that have stayed here till the end, thank you so much for enjoying this video, or at least just watching it, giving it a chance. I've always been passionate about role-playing. Really passionate. It's been one of the things that stayed constant in my life ever since I found it. Since I was 10 years old, I've been role-playing on web forums, on Furcadia, Dungeons and Dragons, most recently. That's only been a couple years. And things like World of Warcraft. It's been hit and miss here and there, but it's always been one of those constant things that I've always been passionate about, always loved. It's not something that goes away from me, and it's something I do sometimes get fed up with, or I don't enjoy because I've gotten all my characters are stale or stuff like that. But I always get over it, and I always find the magic in it again. So I want to be able to do this for a living, yes, on YouTube. I'm hoping to be able to make role-playing, it's something I love, and for me to be able to make it my job too, that would be great. I'd never be working a day in my life, like the saying goes. I'd just be having fun. But my main reason is that I love role-playing, I love my characters, and I really want to help people love theirs again, or get into it. Thank you all for watching this video. It's been a blast making it, and I'm going to try to make more. It's called the Daily Roleplay because I'm going to try to make one video a day. Some of them might be really long, some of them might be really short. This video is, I think, an hour long, maybe a bit less. Next one might just be 10 or 15 minutes. I'm thinking of just doing like the basics of role-playing. Basic grammar, spelling, for some of you that might be troubled by it. The concepts of in-character and out-of-character, and just basic things like that. I think character creation to start with, because most people start with creating a character, even before they learn what role-playing exactly is. And because it's kind of what I was inspired the most to do first, and I wanted to do something that would keep me motivated, and give you guys the best I could give right out of the gate. Or at least the best I can give until I get more experience. So, for all of you, thank you again, and this is Scarith. Hope to see you all again. Booyah!